All right, and we are recording. So yes, we're going to talk about the diabetes solution kit today. This is going to be a fun one because we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic of not eating. During a certain time though, that's the key. What time of day should we not be eating to help with our blood sugar? And Dr. Saunders, always good to have you. You're the author and inventor of the entire concept of the 610 reset that we're going to talk about.
I don't know about inventor.
Well, we've coined the phrase. So, yes. So,
I have no patents yet.
oh, what?
I have no patents.
No pageants? Oh, patents.
Patents.
Pageant, like Christmas pageant? I mean, it's that time of year. But all right. Man, let's see. Has anyone voted on my shirt? Yes. Thank you, Paul. It sure is different. Yeah, I agree. This is a little one. So it kind of reminds me of is it called a kaleidoscope when you look through that thing and then you turn it and it's got all those weird shapes and stuff in it. So and it's kind of Christmas ornamenty, yet with a touch of harvest colors. So I'm trying to remember when there wasn't ice and snow all over our yard and ground and wind and all that. So okay, I'm going to turn it over to you guys, Dr. Saunders and Leslie. Let's get started. Today, we've got people on here that want to learn about how do we get our blood sugar under control and all that, and supporting them, what they're learning in here. So, Dr. Saunders, take it away.
Okay, so this is really important because if you look at how things affect our systems. And we look at all the chemistry, for example. I'm a biochemist and I love the chemistry and the hormones, the amino acids, the sugars, and how everything fits together and how your body takes these enzymes and transforms chemicals from one chemical to another chemical and all the waste products. And I just study this stuff and I eat it up and I love it. Literally, I eat it up. That's my food, right? So, but that amounts to maybe 10 or 20% of health. The other 80 to 90% is what? It's up here. It's what's going on in your head, and that is really important. You can't underestimate how much of an effect your mind has on your health. So what we want to talk about today is exactly that, how our minds affect our health and what kinds of things we can do to improve that. And this is the big thing. So all of the other stuff, the chemistry and measuring your blood sugar, that's the little stuff. The big stuff is how you feel and how much stress you have. So I have a handout that I'm going to make available on the website, but for now I'm just going to kind of show it to you. It's my Circadian Rhythm handout, and if you've ever heard of Circadian Rhythm, it's the sleep-wake cycle. So you're awake, you're asleep, you're awake, you're asleep. That rhythm is called Circadian Rhythm because it has to do with the sun up and sundown effect. But we think of it as sleep-wake cycles, but we often don't think that the metabolism of the circadian rhythm is completely different. On the waking side, during the day, we have a catabolic metabolism, and on the sleeping side at night, we have an anabolic metabolism. So anabolic metabolism is when you build up, you repair, you improve your body. That's when, like, you go out to the gym and you work really hard, you work your muscles so hard, you're actually tearing muscle fibers apart, literally, as you're lifting up that 300 pounds. And then you finally get it, you go, I did it. And then you're really sore the next day. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sore. Why? Because you've actually torn your muscles apart. That's not for nothing that they're sore. You've done damage to them. So during the nighttime, you get anabolic and you do all the repair. You repair your muscles. And, you know, we don't realize this, but when we're walking around and running and doing stuff, we're actually making micro fractures in our bones too. Our bones are cracking. Just not the whole bone, but little parts inside the bone. There's what's called trabeculae, all the different calcium forms. You've probably seen pictures of bones with all the different trabeculations. And they get little cracks in them all over the place. And so at night, you get to repair all of that during the anabolic metabolism. That's when you repair the bones, the muscles, and then all the damage your liver all day long. Think of all the stuff you're eating, all the crap that goes into your intestines. It has to go through your liver first to get processed by your liver. Every ounce, every drop of alcohol kills liver cells. There's so many toxins that we eat every day that damage our liver, plus our own metabolism. And if your liver stopped working, what would you die of? Toxicity. But is it something from outside your body? No, it's all the toxicity from your own cells making ammonia, for example, and all these toxins that will kill you if you don't have a liver to process them and get rid of them. So guess what you get to do at night? You get to fix your liver. The anabolic metabolism fixes your liver every single night. So yeah, during the day we're catabolic. So if it's daytime, if it's light, if you are awake and active and eating, if you eat anything, or if you're stressed and making this cortisol, then you are in catabolic mode. Any one of those things will cause you to be in catabolic mode. And that's really important, because while you're in catabolic mode, you are breaking down your body and doing all these things and aging. So you're making inflammation, you're making toxins, and that's just the cost of living, right? If you had a car and you're driving your car down the road and you say, well, I'm going to drive really carefully, I'm going to drive slow, and I'm not going to hit any bumps so I don't damage my car. Duh, you're damaging your car because you're driving it. Your wheels are wearing out, your seats are wearing out, your fans are wearing out, your wiper blades are wearing out. Everything is wearing out just because you're using it. And that's the way your body is. If you want to keep a car super nice, like new, then park it in the barn, put a cover over it, leave it. Then it'll stay new. But the problem with that is that's not very useful. So if you want your body to be useful, you got to do something. But while you're doing something, you're going to be catabolic. You're going to be breaking it down, right? So the deal, though, that we get from God, that is not, cars don't get that when we build cars, but God gave us something that every night we can become anabolic and fix and repair all of those things, all the damage we did, literally all the damage we did. So our function declines during the day, and every night we get it all back. Then during the day, it declines again. And then at night, we get it back. So that you could stay functional and, throughout your life. You don't have to decline. You don't have to age. You don't have to get old and decrepit and end up in a nursing home. That does not have to happen. The people that live over 100 and they're active and running around and they're digging in their gardens and they're doing stuff, living their lives, because they've been repairing their body, because their anabolic mode works well. So what I'm going to teach you today is how to counteract stress, the effects of stress, the catabolic metabolism, and put yourself in anabolic metabolism. This is worth more than all of the diabetes stuff, all the chemistry we've always talked about, all this stuff. This is more important. So listen carefully. It's super simple. All you have to do is go to sleep by 10 p.m. Why? Why 10? Why can't I just make it 11? Why can't I just shift a little bit over to an hour or two and go to bed at midnight and just still, sleep 8 hours? Because the hormone system is entirely separate from what you think and what you like and the way you like to do things. if you're making cortisol, remember cortisol is the stress hormone, it's the catabolic hormone. If you're making cortisol, you will not make human growth hormone that starts your anabolic metabolism. So you can only make human growth hormone when you're not making cortisol. Well, how does that happen? Well, the bottom of the cortisol effect happens around 10 o'clock at night. And it stays low for a while. And that allows a 10-minute human growth hormone release, a lot of release from your pituitary gland that initiates this anabolic repair mechanisms. So when you're little, your human growth hormone is what makes you grow up into an adult. But once you're an adult, you still need that human growth hormone every single night to repair all the damage that you've done throughout the day. So if you have cortisol, you don't get it. So that's why you have to be asleep by 10 o'clock at night. If you go to bed a little bit later, what happens is you get a second wind. You know what that second wind is? That's stress. That's cortisol. It's adrenaline. It's like, oh, I got a second wind. Well, that's not a good thing. That means you can't be anabolic because you've now released a bunch of cortisol into your system, and you're not going to make human growth hormone. So working with your circadian rhythm and going to bed by 10 o'clock. Some people go to bed at 9 o'clock. That's fine. That's fine. Earlier is fine. As long as you're asleep at 10 o'clock when that's released. So they've done studies on this. I didn't just make this up. Sachin Panda, if you want to look him up, did research on circadian rhythm, and he found that people who worked the night shift, even when they're like, I love the night shift. Oh, I feel so much better sleeping in the day. And I like working at night, and it's just me. I love the night shift. Guess what? They don't go into anabolic metabolism. They're always catabolic. And what about people who work swing shifts? They looked at nurses and police officers and factory workers, and they found because they trade around shifts. When they're on the day shift, they go into anabolic mode. They repair. When they're on the swing shift and they don't get home till midnight, they don't. When they're working the night shift, they don't. It's only during that time when they're working the day shift that they repair. So this is very important. I had a nurse come in recently, and she was the night nurse. And she said, I really like working the night shift because I have children and I can be home all day with the children and take my naps while they're sleeping, in the middle of the day, but also before they get up in the morning. So I get my sleep during the day, and then I can be with my children. Then I can go to work at night. And she said it's a perfect system. But man, I feel so draggy lately, and I'm not doing very well, and I'm getting sick like every cold that comes around. And so I showed her this, and I said, look, you're not getting anabolic. You're catabolic all the time because you're not working with your circadian rhythm. So she quit her job and she started sleeping days. And she came back for follow-up after we'd done a bunch of tests and everything. And she said, she said, within 1 week, I was like dramatically better. I had improved just incredibly in only 1 week. From going on this circadian rhythm. So working with your circadian rhythm and being anabolic as much as you can also requires one other thing. Yes, you go to sleep, but you also have to be fasting. You have to have an empty stomach. So fasting means empty stomach. It doesn't mean you're not eating. It means an empty stomach. So if your stomach is empty, you're fasting. So how do you achieve that by 10 o'clock at night? Because if you don't have an empty stomach, you don't make a hormone called ghrelin, which is growth hormone releasing hormone. So if you don't make ghrelin, you don't make growth hormone. If you don't make growth hormone, you don't repair. So you still have to have an empty stomach at 10 o'clock at night in order to go into this anabolic mode and repair your body every night. So the research is done with stopping eating by 6 o'clock. So 6 p.m. After 6, no food. And water you have to be really careful of. You can drink water earlier on, but remember, the ghrelin is produced by an empty stomach. So even water, even though it has no calories, water stretches your stomach. So if you drink a bunch of water before you go to bed, you may not have an empty stomach. Yes, water cleans out pretty quickly. So within 10 or 20 minutes or less, the water will go through your stomach. So that by itself isn't a problem, as long as it's not like right before you go to bed. If it's a half an hour before you go to bed, you're probably pretty good with that. Excuse me. So having the empty stomach allows you to make ghrelin, and ghrelin does a whole bunch of things that are super important. Besides releasing growth hormone, it repairs your stomach, it repairs your intestines, and it makes you sensitive to endorphins in your brain that prevent you from feeling pain, that allow you to feel good, that allow you to sleep better, more soundly. Endorphins are so important. They are the anti-stress hormone. Is endorphins. They actually suppress your adrenal glands, so you don't make stress hormones, and so you want more endorphins. And endorphin means endogenous morphine. It's the morphine your brain makes to make you feel good and sleep better. It's the narcotic that you get that says, everything's okay. So that ghrelin makes you sensitive to your endorphins. Otherwise, you can get resistant to it, especially like people that take pain medication. They often get very resistant to it. So the 610 reset, that's what we call it, the 610 reset. Why? Because every single night you get to reset your system. If you stop eating by 6 and go to bed by 10. And then I always add one other thing, number 3 at the bottom is, let's see, what is it?
Breakfast by 8 a.m.
Yeah, breakfast by 8 a.m. So eat breakfast before 8 a.m. Why is that? Because in order to have a good circadian rhythm, you want to release your cortisol in the morning, and your cortisol is released in the morning. You want to eat breakfast in the morning and get that initiated. When NASA did research for the space station that doesn't have sunrise and sunset, so they don't have a good circadian rhythm, they have to actually create a circadian rhythm. So they have these full spectrum lights for the astronauts, and they give them melatonin, because when it's dark, you make melatonin, and they have to sleep on their schedule. They found the one thing that was most helpful was when they started eating in the morning. That's their morning meal initiated the whole process of circadian rhythm. So 3 things, the 610 reset. Stop eating by 6 o'clock, no food after 6, go to sleep by 10, and eat breakfast by 8. That's it. That's our system. And it's the anti-stress system for people who are really stressed. It works.
So what I've found since we've been teaching the information in the diabetes solution kit is that 610 reset seems to be the game changer. Like if people are stuck and they're following all the other advice and, eating low carb and different things like that, a lot of times, like if they can do that 610 reset, that'll be the game changer. And so, and one thing too that you talk about is that the 6 p.m. is more of a general, time to stop eating, but that's also assuming you're not eating like a heavy meal. And so the key is having an empty stomach at 10 p.m. Right?
Yeah, actually, because if it's 6 o'clock, you eat a half a pizza and drink 2 pints of root beer, that's going to take 6 to 8 hours to empty out of your stomach, because your stomach empties according to calories. So if you eat a ton of food at 6 o'clock, that's not going to work. The rule is your stomach has to be empty. But if you eat a small salad at 7 o'clock, that's going to be emptied out of your stomach pretty quickly. Yeah, clearly within 3 hours. So it doesn't have to be this. The 6 is a guideline. The rule is the empty stomach.
Yeah. Okay. So just some housekeeping. This is the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. If you visited bartonwebinar.com, that's where you can register to join us live as a Barton Publishing customer. And every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time, we do this call. Dr. Saunders is on. He's answering questions. He's teaching and educating about diabetes, type 2, reversal, all of that. We do give a disclaimer that Dr. Saunders is giving great information, but it's not personal medical advice. So always, work with your own medical team for that. We have some great questions here that have come in that are all related to this. So I want to get those going here. So what about people who have messed up sleep cycles from a lifetime of working night shifts?
Oh, I've run across this several times. So it's a difficult problem, and it's something that has to be worked on over time to get your circadian rhythm right. So if I can give you some hints, what NASA found was important in that, and what I talked about is the eating breakfast in the morning, because a lot of people skip breakfast, and that doesn't initiate their circadian rhythm properly, so that they don't have the up in the morning and down at night. So starting a schedule is the best way. At first, like when you start anything, you have to be really like anal about it. You have to be like very careful, do it all right, and be exacting on it for a while. And then after a while, when it becomes second nature, then you get a little play, and you can take days off, for example. And they showed with the rat studies, they showed in the circadian rhythm that if they took 2 days a week off and let them eat later at night, 2 days a week, it didn't make a difference in their length of life. That 5 days a week was okay. But when you've had this kind of a problem where years and years of working nights, your circadian rhythm's messed up, you've got to be exacting. So like no matter what, you're in bed, even if you're at a party, you leave the party and go to bed by whatever, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And if your circadian rhythm's messed up, you may have to turn off the lights by like 6, 7 o'clock, turn off the lights, or just use the yellow lights, like candles or something after 6 o'clock. That often helps. Or you could actually take a pill, melatonin. Melatonin, taken at night, can help initiate that sleep cycle, which is okay. And then it's important that you sleep all night and wait, so that you're not waking up in the middle of the night. So if there's issues with that, then that's got to be dealt with too, until you get to this normal rhythm of, I'm starting to get tired by 9 o'clock at night, and I got to be in bed by 10, and my kids all know that, like, when we're driving and it's getting late at night, Dad, are you getting tired? Because it's almost 10 o'clock. Because I really do get really tired by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that will become second nature, but it's a rhythm that you have to work out by being very exacting and forcing it for a while, so that you're not doing what's natural.
Yeah, somebody had asked a question, you kind of mentioned this, but what if you wake up at, say, 11 or 12 o'clock after being asleep before 10 o'clock? So you talked about that 10-minute window. Like, is that when all the repair happens, or do you need beyond that?
Well, you actually need beyond that, because it's during the deep sleep that you get all of these greatest benefits. And the deep sleep happens between 10 and 2 p.m. So ideally, you want to be asleep between 10 and 2 p.m. So if you wake up at 2, It's not a big deal. And you're awake for an hour and you go back to sleep. Then you can REM. In fact, when you're napping during the day, most of the time you get REM sleep. And so you don't need a specific schedule for that kind of thing. You can take naps, but that 10 to 2 is in your circadian rhythm, and that needs to be the deep sleep time. So if you're waking up at 11 or 12 after going to sleep at 10, that means there's something wrong with your sleep cycles. And so you might need something like help, like melatonin, or making your own melatonin. I often give people things like lemon balm and magnesium because it helps them get to sleep. And especially for women, a common problem after age 35, the progesterone levels drop, and the sleep cycles can change for women, and that's kind of a common problem in menopause. So if that's the case and you're a woman, you may ask for a progesterone supplement. You want an oral supplement and not the cream. The cream's fine, but the oral supplement will go through the liver and be made into allopregnanolone. It's a sedative progesterone that helps keep you asleep all night. So women have that advantage of having better sleep from hormones. Usually, it's a hormone, so not everybody responds exactly the same to hormones because it depends on balance more than amount. But that's something you can look at.
Yeah. Another thing we've talked about is avoiding screens late in the day, like the blue light from TV screens or computer, iPad, phones, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Messes things up. So, avoiding that. For me personally, if I start reading an actual book, like instead of on my phone, like whatever, something about that book, like it'll knock me out in 5 minutes. And that's like any book. I don't know why, but
I had a microbiology book in college that did that to me, and it was the only book I could not get through a whole paragraph without falling asleep. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Chloroform in print.
Yeah, that's probably why I didn't do so well in college. Like I started out pre-pharmacy as my major and took biology, and like that book was this thick and like intense reading, and like I struggled with that. But that's a whole different story. God didn't want me to be a pharmacist, apparently, so that's good.
Well, here you are.
We have a good question here from Eric. It says breakfast by 8 a.m. means you can't eat dinner then if you're intermittent fasting, right?
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question. Yes, when you're intermittent fasting, don't skip breakfast because that'll mess up your circadian rhythm. You actually want to skip dinner, and there's a lot of good evidence for that skipping dinner is a much better way to do it than skipping breakfast.
I think you've even mentioned, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, you had just mentioned, I know in previous webinars about even some of the research was saying, if you can be done eating by 3, it's even better. So it's almost like the longer you can fast, the better for you. Yeah.
So Sachin Penna did that research. And so when the rats stop eating by 6 o'clock, then they keep a good circadian rhythm, and they get their catabolic and anabolic, and everything is working great, and they live long. But if they wanted to improve their function, like lose weight and all of that, they stopped eating by 3 o'clock. That's what you're talking about. And yeah, that works better. So definitely, if you're doing intermittent fasting, skip dinner.
I'm sitting here thinking, okay, my son has a 10 or a 9:40 p.m. soccer game on Saturday. How am I going to get to bed?
Oh my gosh.
I know it's difficult in the world that we live in sometimes. So keep those things in mind, but
sorry, son,
you can do
I'm not
it.
going to beat your game.
Yeah, I know. You're going to have to drive yourself. All right.
The rats got to take 2 days off a week, so that could be one of your 2 days off.
That's true. There you go. Okay. Lots of good questions about this though. So I really like this. What are we missing here? Okay, so Chris has a couple questions. The info you shared with us about the nurse stemming from your clinical practice. I have two writer questions. A, what about the flight attendants serving on longer time flights, like 10 to 14 hours? Should they also find another job? That will be tough. And then the second question is, if one takes ashwagandha during the day time to reduce cortisol, will it shift the circadian rhythm?
Oh yeah. Okay. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen, and what it does is it helps the adrenal glands adapt to stress, so that it kind of like is a shift. It doesn't really suppress the adrenal glands like endorphins do, for example, or not eating. Fasting suppresses your adrenal glands, or phosphatidylserine suppresses them, but the adaptogens help you adapt. So when you have a lot of stress, instead of having this wide gap, it makes it so you don't have as much of a response, so that you're not getting like panic attacks and anxiety from this excess adrenaline and all that stuff. So the ashwagandha, it can be taken any time of the day, and it can help the circadian rhythm, help you get back into circadian rhythm. That's a really good point. And the idea of the flight attendants, it's a hard thing. If I don't know the answer to that, because you can't go against what the law is, what the rules are, the way things work, and say, well, I want to change the rules just for me. The nurse that's working nights, she has a choice to make. And she said, well, I'm so miserable right now working nights, and she quits and gets another job in the day, a part-time job. That's what she got. And she had to make some other sacrifice, so that she could feel good and not get sick all the time. So I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, should they get another job? If they're really susceptible to it and it's really bothering them, that may be a better choice. But you know what? Some people seem to be really resilient to it. They're resilient to this kind of a stressor. And it doesn't bother them at all. So I don't know. You're muted.
Here we go.
There.
Question from Meg. Do you have any comments or experience with using peptide therapy to help diabetes? And which peptides do you recommend? Same question for mitochondrial support.
Okay. Do I have experience with peptide therapy? Very little. I've read about it. I've gone to conferences. They've talked about it. Peptides are short chain amino acids. They're kind of like enzymes. They're kind of like proteins that are signaling proteins. So insulin is actually a peptide. And so is glucagon. Those are peptides. Incretin is a peptide. So and these are peptides that are used for diabetes and various things. My experience with peptides is they're okay, but they don't address the underlying cause, the underlying problem, because again, you're using the peptides to relieve a symptom and not really get rid of the problem. So I think the underlying problem, the toxicity of what diabetes is it needs to be detoxed instead of just preventing the expression or the toxicity, symptoms of toxicity. And that's essentially what these peptides do. So what our program is actually to detox. Is the way you detox is, well, the 6-10 reset's a great detox, and that's part of what you do at night. But not eating carbs is another detox, because you're toxic on carbohydrates. You got to use them up. Exercise is another good detox, and using incretins is not. So your other question about mitochondria, mitochondrial support, I use it a lot, and I think that, you know, let's look at like the big picture and go back in history. For thousands of years, doctors dealt with their primary problems were deficiency diseases. You know, I've never seen a real case of scurvy, which is deficiency of vitamin C, or rickets, which is deficiency of vitamin D, or kwashiorkor, a deficiency of proteins. I haven't seen deficiency diseases as such. I've seen problems with deficiencies, but not the kinds of things that doctors dealt with for thousands of years. And you know what? We don't see that now because we have these supportive nutrients. We have things that, yeah, we have food, but you know what? You can't get everything from your food. And that's been pretty much shown. And so I say, take some supplements. What are the ones that help the mitochondria function better? Well, CoQ10. As we age, we don't make as much. Yeah, we make it. We don't make as much. If you're taking a statin, you're not going to make very much CoQ10. It actually suppresses your ability to make CoQ10. Another one is magnesium, and we don't have staple foods that are magnesium. We've talked about that a lot. That's a common one I think people should supplement. So if you look at a mitochondrial support formula, you'll see things like N-acetylcysteine and CoQ10 and magnesium and L-carnitine, and it's not that everybody needs it, but if your mitochondria aren't working, it can be very useful. And of course, people that come to me are sick, and if they're sick, then they have a problem. And if I find the problem to be a mitochondrial problem, then I give them mitochondrial support. I think it's fine.
All right, we had a question about what the doctor's name was that you had mentioned. Anyway, it's Dr. Sachin Panda. Is that how you say it?
SACHIN PANDA, just like the bear. Cute little panda bear.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to post that actually. Copied it from Google. Okay, next question. Let's see. These are good questions. Paul says, I recently had a steroid injection in my lower back for pain. My doctor warned me that my blood glucose readings would spike for about a week. These extremely high readings have been disturbing. How will these high ratings impact my A1C and that they are not diet related?
Okay, excellent question. Okay, because this brings up a lot of issues, and that is what we were talking about today, the cortisol. When cortisol is released, it makes you resistant to insulin, so the blood sugar naturally goes up, and that's a natural thing. So at night, your blood sugar is normal. When you wake up in the morning, you release the cortisol. Even before you eat, you start releasing cortisol. So people often ask the question, why is my blood sugar higher in the morning than it was at night, and I didn't eat anything? Well, it's not just what you eat. There's a lot of hormone things that are going on inside your body, and this is one of them. So when you release cortisol in the morning, your blood sugar naturally goes up. Well, guess what the doctor injected you with? It's a cortisone. It is an analog or something that binds to the cortisol receptors, and it makes you really resistant to insulin. So your blood sugar is going to go up, but you can't use up what's in your blood. So it just goes up again and up again and up again, and it can get really high. You can get it into the 300s, 400s, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. It's not going to kill you. It's okay. Yes, your hemoglobin A1C might go up a little bit because remember, the hemoglobin A1C is a roughly 3-month average. So over the 3 months, you have this spike for a week or so that goes up and then gradually goes back to normal. And so your hemoglobin A1C will be affected, but no, it's not going to appreciably affect your other issues. That's not going to like give you kidney failure or Alzheimer's disease or, you know, amputations. That's not what it'll do. But remember, it is the cortisol that they're injecting you with is a catabolic hormone. It does break down everything. So yes, it kills the immune system in your back where they injected it. It kills all the cells, the immune cells, so that you don't have a reaction anymore and the inflammation goes away. That's what it's for. It's for decreasing inflammation. But it also kills all the cells that repair all of that. So now you got to go into repair mode. And so that's for you, it's especially important to do like the 6-10 reset.
Right. It's interesting. I was having a lot of really late nights over the past like month, and I've noticed that my old knee injury stuff is really bothering me. So I'm thinking about that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Kathy says, I've been on phase 1 for months trying to get my blood glucose down and being somewhat successful. I've been tested over the year for numerous symptoms and all comes back good. This fall, my legs and balance got off and I started using a cane. Then I lost the ability to go up the stairs. I had x-rays and a 4-hour MRI. They were thinking MS. The neurologist says the lesions are not at the right place for symptoms. I'm so frustrated. She said, maybe it's the diabetes. Could that be? She sent blood work to Mayo, but doesn't have a lot of ideas. Any thoughts? I'm losing my job because I can't do the stairs.
Okay. Well, I can't advise you specifically, but if we looked at the general idea, if someone's thinking multiple sclerosis, MS, then they do an MRI scan and they see lesions in the brain. The white matter of the brain. They actually see these like burnt out holes where you don't have the white matter there. What's really interesting about that is that they don't correspond to where the symptoms are. So if someone has neurological symptoms on the left side, then you expect to see the white matter lesions on the right side of the brain. Wait, right? Okay. The left side. I get my left and my right mixed up. So, but then they do the MRI and they see them on the left side and they see them in the pons and they see them in other areas and they go, you know, these lesions we're seeing don't correspond to your symptoms. And you know what? That is actually very common with MS. So I don't think that rules out MS. I think that's still a possibility and should be looked at. So if you think you might have MS, there's a couple of doctors who reversed their MS and they've written books about how to do that. One of them is, oh gosh, it's been a long time and I can't remember her name. I'll remember it's darn.
Terry Walls.
Terry Walls, the Walls protocol, WAHLS, yeah. And she wrote a book on how to reverse MS. And that might be a good plan because that would work for the diabetes as well. It's unlikely that the diabetes is causing this issue. It's more likely a neurological problem. And she talks about how important it is to get your mitochondria functioning and why food is better than supplements for getting the mitochondria functioning. So I do endorse this book, and I think it's a great program. And I've had patients do it. I've recommended I had patients do it and improve. Instead of getting worse with their MS, they actually got better. So I think you should look into that, and anybody who has that kind of an issue should do that.
Okay, the couple questions about the time change. How does that affect when you do your 6-10 reset?
It does. Or like say you travel to China, right? You're on the other side of the world and now your day is night, your night is day. So you can say, I can work nights in China. Bummer. It only works for about a couple of weeks. because what ends up happening is because of the sunrise, sunset, the way the world's turning, who knows exactly what goes on. Your body will start turning to whatever your current time zone is. And it takes about 1 day for every hour that change is made. So if you go to Europe and you're 10 hours difference, then in about 10 days, your body's going to be on that schedule, whether you like it or not, even if you're going to stay on the schedule from the United States. It doesn't work for long.
Roy is asking if our easy relief magnesium would help with the melatonin production.
Oh, the magnesium is really good for increasing magnesium. I don't have any understanding or knowledge that it causes in any way melatonin production.
But it does help you sleep better.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you had mentioned. So they're two separate things, but the magnesium was something that does help you to sleep better. Melatonin you can often take, I think, to fall asleep quicker. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melatonin help you fall asleep quicker. And magnesium has a relaxing effect. So people that are tense, they find magnesium to be really useful for falling asleep. The thing about the easy magnesium, the spray, is you're spraying it on your body and it's absorbed more gradually. You don't have like a quick absorption. So if you're using magnesium to sleep, you might want to do a pill supplement.
Okay.
So quick question, melatonin, can you take too much of it over time? Is that something that's intended to only take for a certain amount of time to get your body in its own rhythm?
That's an interesting question. And I always think ideally it's best to make it yourself. And it's not just made in the pineal gland of the brain, it's also made in the intestines and it's in your food. Melatonin is not something that is, exclusive to just that pineal gland that makes it for sleep. And the research shows that the more melatonin you have, the less likely you are to have like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases like MS. So melatonin is somewhat protective, and it seems like more is better. So I don't know the full answer to that. My inclination is always to say, if you can make it endogenously, if you can make it in your body, it's better. But some people just need to take it. So if you need it for life, as far as I know from the research that I've done, I haven't seen any ill effects from it long term.
Right. How much melatonin would you recommend before 10 o'clock?
That's a great question. Okay. Melatonin is highly variable. It's one of those hormones that people respond differently, and they use it differently, and they break it down differently. And it's a serotonin derivative. So if your serotonin is low, your melatonin is low, and so it's all different. But the studies with Alzheimer's disease, 0.5 milligrams, that's 500 micrograms, was an adequate amount for most people with Alzheimer's disease. So I've seen studies anywhere from 0.5 milligrams up to 10 milligrams. And I know people with cancer are taking hundreds of milligrams. So that's how wide the spectrum is on how people are taking it. And but what's interesting about sleep, the 0.5, 1 to 3 milligrams, anywhere 0.5 to 3 milligrams, seems to be the range in which most people help. And you don't get a lot more benefit from taking a lot more. But I have had some people, they say, I don't sleep with 5 milligrams, I have to get 10 milligrams and then I can sleep. So you have to kind of adjust it to how you work.
Okay. Question from Meg: what happens if you are fasting for 18 hours? When you eat breakfast at 8, that's only 14 hours. How stringent is the breakfast by 8? Is it flexible to extend fasting but still get the circadian rhythm?
Okay, 18 hours. You know what I would do is I would just move your second meal back a couple of hours or 4 hours, and have your breakfast before 8, and then eat lunch, and then fast for the next 18 hours. That would be a better choice for the 6-10 reset.
Okay, that's good. Let's see here. Lost my questions. Here we go. Lots of people talking about sleep and having trouble falling asleep. So this is good information that you've shared. Krish says, I have some blurriness in my eye caused by a certain anti-glaucoma eye drop. From several past webinars, you had emphasized the importance of vitamin A. I've heard that vitamin A also reduces dryness in the eye. So eating 15 to 20 baby carrots per day may not be enough to generate the needed amounts of vitamin A. Most commercially available formula uses synthetic vitamin A, which are useless. What form of natural vitamin A would you recommend, and where can I get it?
Okay, well, food is ideal because all the colors, the carotenoids are made into retinoids, and there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, so the synthetic vitamin A may not be the best choice because it's usually a retinol or one, just like it's one chemical, whereas the natural vitamin A is a spectrum. It's a lot of different things. So when you get it from food, it is like if you were to drink carrot juice, you're getting not just beta carotene, you're getting alpha, beta, gamma, and then you have all the greens. They have carotenoids in them too, and retinoids. And then you can get it from fruit, vegetables, and so the colors. But at the same time, you can also get it from nuts and seeds. A really good source of natural vitamin A is cod liver oil. If you take a teaspoon of cod liver oil, you're getting about 1,000 units of vitamin A. It's quite a bit. So a tablespoon is somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000 units. So if you were to take a tablespoon of vitamin oil a few times, a tablespoon of cod liver oil a few times a week, that would give you plenty of vitamin A. It's a pretty good source.
Okay, final question. Let's see. Lisa said, could you repeat the name of the book for mitochondria support?
The book?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, the one, Dr. Terry Walls. It's called the Walls Protocol. WAHLS.
Okay.
The Walls
I was thinking
Protocol.
it was before that, but I don't know for sure.
Well, she's the one that talks about minding your mitochondria.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
But that's the book. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's it. She said. Okay. Perfect. All right, you guys. That's it. That is it for us today. Dr. Saunders needs to go be with his patient. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, Dr. Saunders.
Yes.
Thanks. All right.
Oh, thanks everybody. All right.
I think we got through all of our questions.
Awesome.
So yay.
Good stuff.
Awesome, you guys. Thank you again. And you can go to bartonwebinar.com to watch the replays. We're behind a little bit on them, but they should be coming soon. And what else can we tell you? Make sure you chat with the person that you use for, your doctor. And if, is Dr. Saunders still taking patients? I don't even know.
I don't think so. I think
He isn't. Okay.
Capacity right now. So,
but he does recommend if your doctor isn't open to some of these things, you can always search for a functional doctor, and you can pretty much just Google functional medicine doctor and find someone in your area who can work side by side with you. So anything else you want to add, Joe?
we're always looking for people that want to share their success stories with us too. So yeah, we're going to actually hop on a call with Kenneth here in a minute. and talk to him and hear his story and record it and hopefully share that on our YouTube channel as well. And so if anyone else has got a story of how they've seen major health progress that we've helped with, we'd love to hear about that. So
Yes.
if that's you, send an email to Leslie. How do we do that?
You can get me at leslie@bartonpublishing.com. And I just saw a question, Dr. Saunders' chart in the book, or where can we get it? And he is going to get that to us. I need to remember to get that from him. We will post it somewhere. He said the website, but is that an option?
We could put it on Facebook, in our Facebook group, or
Yeah, let's do the Barton Webinar Facebook group. I think that'd be a good spot. Would that be
Yeah.
all right? Okay, so we'll put that on the Barton Webinar Facebook group. So if you haven't joined that, make sure that you do. Just
the
gotta
link is on bartonwebinar.com. If you go there, and then just find the Facebook page link from there, and then click join, and we'll let you in. So,
Awesome. All right.
cool. All right.
Good.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Leslie. We'll see you on the next call.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye.